Alright, in the last video we talked about how to allocate indirect costs, and we said that there are three things you got to do. First, we have to identify what is it that we're going to allocate. So got we got to identify the indirect costs that we were going to allocate. Then we got to identify where we are going to allocate it to, and that's the cost object. And then in this example, we have three cost objects. We have the women's department, the men's department, and the children's department. And then we had to decide how are we going to allocate it. And that was what the cost driver did when we used to allocate the indirect cost. Well, in this video, we're really going to focus on the how, and we're really going to focus on how do we select the best cost driver. And there is really three things that we're going to look at. One, we want to select a cost driver that has a strong cause and effect relationship. And what I mean by that is that we want to select a driver where an increase in the driver, an increase in the cost driver, let's say the cost driver sales volume, an increase in the sales volume will cause an increase in indirect costs. And the stronger that relationship is, the better the cost driver is. So you want to pick a cost driver that has the strongest cost effect relationship. So an increase in the driver causes an increase in the indirect cost, or a decrease in the driver causes a decrease in the indirect cost. We want a strong relationship between the cost or the driver. The second thing we need to do is we need it to be available. You may be able to come up with a great cost driver, but if it's not available, it's kind of useless. You have to have a cost driver that's available. We don't have information on everything that goes on in the company. We just collect some information about some things. Like we know sales volume, but we may not know the number of sales transactions. So we could use sales volume as a cost driver, but even if number of transactions is a better driver, we can't use it because we didn't collect information on it. So basically, it has to be available. And the third thing is that we'd like to have is that we'd like the cost to be controllable. And a lot of times the cost is controllable if you select the right cost driver. So we'd like to have a cost that is controllable. What I mean by that is that it's really important in this case that these department managers' bonuses depend on the profitability of the department. If they don't have any control over the indirect costs every year, how the indirect cost is allocated to them, they're not going to like it because they want to have control over their bonuses, and and yeah, I mean that's about it. They need to have control of how this indirect cost is allocated. You need to choose a cost driver where the manager has some control over that. So in this example, we still have a few costs to allocate. We got to allocate the store manager salary, we got to allocate the utilities, and then the advertising, and finally the supplies, and so let's also go through and allocate these four costs, and let's try to select the best cost driver as we do this, so you'll see how it works. So let's start with utility costs. So I have a utility cost out here. It is $2,300, and I've decided to allocate this based on square footage. So the number of square feet that the department takes up, because if you take up more square footage, then you are going to use more utilities. So that's how the utility cost should be out here. At least that is one way you can do it, and also it's more controllable. Maybe the women's department might say that we'll give up some of our square footage to the children's department, so that they don't have to have as much square footage and they don't get allocated as much utility costs. So we know what is utility cost, $2,300, and we know we are going to allocate it based on the square footage. This cost driver, which is 23,000 in total for the whole building, and so that gives us $0.10 per square foot. And we know we're going to allocate it based on the square footage, this cost driver, which is 23,000 total for the whole building. And so that gives us $0.10 per square foot. So every square foot that the department takes up, they're going to be allocated 10 cents. So the women's department at 10 cents, they will take up 12,000 square feet, and they're going to be allocated 1,200 of the $2,300 utility cost. The men's department, they will take up 7,000 square feet, so they're going to be allocated $700. And the children's department, they're going to be taking up 4,000 square feet, so they'll be allocated $400. So you can see that the total cost is $2,300 for utilities. And the total number of square feet is 23,000, but that's how this utility bill will be allocated based on square footage, assuming we use square footage as the cost driver. Okay, let's look at another example. This is supplies cost. And let's say we have 900 in supplies cost. And this was the shopping bags. So every time a customer buys something, we give them bag. So you can see that in the children's department, we had 120 transactions. So we had 120 bags. And in the men's department, we had 92 transactions. So we have used 92 bags. So we could allocate this cost based on the number of transactions, and that would have a very strong cost effect. The more transactions, the more bags, it would make a lot of sense actually. We could also allocate this cost based on total sales, but look what happens in the children's department. We had $1,440 in total sales. And the men's department, we had $1,612 in total sales. So you can see that we use more bags in children's department, but our total sales were smaller. We use less bags in the men's department, but our total sales were bigger. And this is probably occurring because the clothing in the men's department is more expensive than the clothing that's sold in the children's department. So you can see in this example, we're trying to choose the best cost driver. We'd say the number of transactions is better. Transactions is probably the best cost driver because it has the strongest cause and effect relation. But let's say that we don't know the number of transactions, so this information is not actually available. We don't know the sales transaction, and all we can keep track of is the sales dollars. Remember, we talked about how you may find the best cost driver, but it may not be available. So we don't keep track of transaction. We only keep track of the sales dollars, right? Then we can't really make use of it because it's not available. So even though transactions look like it has a stronger cause and effect relationship than total sales, since number of sales transaction is not available, we're going to use total sales to allocate this cost. So we know for the month our total sales volume across the three departments was $360,000, and we can see that back on the original income statement. We can see that right here for the month of January had 360,000 in total sales volume, and 190,000 was from the women's department, 110 was men's, and 60,000 was the children's. So if you want to allocate supplies expense based on sales volume, we're going to take that 900, that's the watt, divided by the total sales volume, which was 360,000. And you will get 0.0025 per sales dollar. So the women's department had 190,000 sales. So times 0.25, we are going to allocate 475 of the supplies expense to them. The men's department has 110,000 sales, and so we allocate it with 275, and we allocate $150 to the children's department then. This totals to $900. So you can see in this example we use sales volume to allocate these supplies expense for the supplies cost, even though it did not have the strongest cost effect relationship, and that's because number of transactions was not available. So you use the one that had the strongest cause and effect relationship that is actually available, that you have data for, so you can do your allocation. Alright then, the next cost we need to allocate is the advertising cost, and it's 7,200, and we decided to use sales volume to also allocate this. The more sales a department has, the more they are probably taking advantage of the advertising cost. So maybe they're responsible for more of the advertising. So the watt is the 7,200. The cost driver sales volume, so divided by 360,000, and that gives you 0.02, so or 2 cents per sales dollar. So the women's department, they had the most sales volume, right? 190,000. So times 0.02, we're going to allocate 3,800 to the women's department. The men's department will get 2,200. The children's department will get 1,200. A total of 7,200, which was the same as the advertising cost. And our sales volume totals 360, which was our total sales for the whole store. So we allocated that based on the total sales volume. And in the final cost to allocate is the store manager's salary. And this is a true fixed cost and doesn't really vary depending on sales volume, depending on square footage, depending on anything at all. It's a it's just a true fixed cost. So we got to decide how do we allocate this. So we know what we want to allocate is the store manager's salary. This is the guy that is managing the whole store. So he's managing all the three departments. He's not a departmental manager, he's the main manager of the store. So his salary is $18,400, and we got to decide what's the cost driver. So we want something that has a cause and effect relationship, but we don't really have anything here because this is a true fixed cost. I mean, a salary isn't dependent on the number of sales. It is not dependent on how big the building is or anything else. It is a true fixed cost. So allocating this is a little more challenging. So in this case, since we can't really come up with a perfect cost driver, there's nothing really driving this cost. We're just going to divide evenly across the three departments. So the cost driver will be the number of departments. In this case, it's 3. So 18,400 divided by 3 is $3,120 per department. So each department has an equal portion of the store manager's salary, and there may be people who argue with that. I mean, if you are children's department, you'd say that that's not fair because the manager is spending more of his time in the women's department because there's more sales there. So again, allocating cost is a behavioral issue. It's trying to get people to work together in something that makes sense. But allocating fixed cost can sometimes be challenging because there is no real cost driver. So we just have to do the best we can. So, all right, so we've got to allocate all these costs. You guys have a good idea on how this works, and it is very subjective actually. There is not necessarily a right way to do this. You got to do the best the way you can, and the best way means you want the cost driver that has the strongest cause and effect relationship. It's available and hopefully it is controllable in some way. All right, so if you look at our income statement now, you can see the women's department sales had sales of $190,000, and now we have allocated all the costs. We got the direct costs and the indirect costs here, and you can see these are all the numbers that we came up with. And so the women's department has departmental profit of $30,305. The men's department had the profit of $24,405. The children's department of $4,130. So to figure out the bonus, just multiply profit times 0.10%. And the women's department would get a bonus of $3,031. The manager at the men's department get $2,440, and the children's department, the manager at the children's department would get $413. So these bonuses were really determined based on how these indirect costs were allocated. And you can bet that if these managers probably had different opinions on how they should allocate costs, because none of them would have wanted these indirect costs because it affected their bonuses. If they would have less indirect costs, they would have had a bigger bonus. The point I want you guys to really get is that this is a behavioral issue and it's a people issue. It's how we allocate costs, and the best way such that we can get these managers to perform in a way that maximizes departmental profit.